everyone, I hope that you're all doing alright and having a good day so far, and I hope that you had a good weekend. I had a pretty decent one. It was kind of lazy. I had plans to do a bit of decorating, but I ended up not doing it. I'm still kind of waiting for my antidepressants to kick in. I think I'm at that sort of stage where, oh, by the way, I'm on antidepressants. Weird thing to just drop in a voiceover for a speed build, I know, but I did mention it on my community tab a couple days ago. But yeah, I think I'm at that like weird in-between space where they're not quite working, but they're doing something. And I'm like, are they working? Do I need to tell the doctor they're not good enough? Like, I'm just sort of like not really sure where I'm at. And I feel like I'm not concentrating that much. So when I'm trying to plan projects for what I need to do, so I need to decorate the bathroom and everything, that didn't really happen. So I had a bit of a lazy weekend. And I'm having a bit of a lazy week. I've got a child-free week and I thought I would get a lot done and I've barely got anything done. So anyway, today we're building a mid-century modern home, kind of eco sort of vibe to it. Well, it's definitely got an eco vibe to it. I put some, it's on the roof, solar panels, and it's also got a couple of, well, I use the Eco Lifestyle pack. Is it called Eco Lifestyle? It is, isn't it? And I also put in not a greenhouse, but like a place to grow plants, and kind of imagine that the family that lives here is quite self-sufficient and they're very sort of eco-conscious potentially. But yeah, that's what we built today. And I built this one in Oasis Springs, and what kind of inspired me to build this, I was part of a collab recently called the Back to Basics collab. I did a 8-sim family home for it in Willow Creek, and when I saw everybody's build in Oasis Springs, when I was like looking at all the builds and everything, I kind of thought, oh, I wish I'd built in Oasis Springs now, because I wanted to do like a mid-century house. So I thought, well, why don't I just build one anyway? This one isn't base game though, unfortunately. I did use a few packs for this one, the full details of which will be in the description, but I'll quickly go over what I used. So I used Get Famous, Snowy Escape, which is a little bit like, why would you use Snowy Escape? It's a bit of a random option for mid-century, but the main reason why I used Snowy Escape is because I wanted to use the mailbox that's like on the wall, that goes on the wall. But yeah, anyway, I used, what did I say? I used Snowy Escape, Get Famous, Eco Lifestyle, Dream Home Decorator, and what else did I use? Tiny Living, and I think that's it. But like I said, the full details of the packs that I use will be in the description. And it's a family home. It's intended for up to 3 sims. It's got space for a kid. And yeah, I really like how it turned out. I love building like modern houses, and I really do quite like the mid-century sort of vibe. It's definitely sort of mid-century modern more than old. It's definitely leans more on the modern side rather than like mid-century in my opinion. I think the exterior is quite mid-century. It's that typical sort of shape. But then the colour scheme is very sort of modern in my opinion, and the interior is definitely a lot more modern. But it does have some mid-century like elements, like I used the Dream Home Decorator pack, which I think it's mid-century, but it's more like mid-century modern, which is, I don't know if there's a real difference. I think mid-century is different to mid-century modern, isn't it? Yeah, it's got to be, because why would there be 2 titles for it? Either way, it is definitely more modern on the interior, and I decided to go with quite like a light colour scheme. I've done a mid-century home before, and the colour scheme that I used was sort of very typical mid-century colours, and it was leaning a bit more like on the 70s side of it in my opinion. I feel like I've said in my opinion quite a lot. I do that, I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes in my voiceovers there'll be like a particular word that I fixate on and I use, kind of like overuse it. Now that I've pointed it out, maybe that's like kind of annoying, but yeah, anyway. So yeah, like I said, it's very sort of bright on the interior. Did I say that? It's very neutral. I went for a lot of like brighter colours this time, and the bedroom and everything, I think it's a little bit of like a mishmash, what is the word? Where you kind of just combine a couple different styles together. So there's like the mid-century bed, and then there's quite modern like cabinets and stuff for the clothing. And then I used a couple of bits from Eco Lifestyle as well, like the flooring and then like furniture and stuff. But I do quite like it. I like how it turned out. It's kind of a combination of a few of my favourite different styles and that. Also, I will say the recording of the living room, I kind of forgot about it, so I've had to like plonk that on the end because I forgot to record it. I've recorded the majority of the interior yesterday, and I really only needed to do like the back garden and that today. So I recorded the back garden. No, it was the kitchen, sorry, and the greenhouse that I needed to record. Also, sorry if you can hear my neighbour's dog. But yeah, oh god, that's really distracted me now. What was I on about? God's sake. I recorded most of it, that's what I was saying. I recorded most of it yesterday. But I did the living room last because I was really struggling on like the layout of it and everything. Something about the living room was just throwing me off. I think I initially wanted to have a fireplace because I've done a chimney on the side. Usually when I do that, I think, well, I might as well have a chimney a fireplace because I've got a chimney. But I ended up not putting one down just because the whole layout and the floor plan were kind of a bit off. Like it just weren't working out for me, and I just didn't like the idea of having a fireplace like after I looked at the floor plan and I was trying to figure out the layout and everything for the living room. So I thought, oh, I'll come back to that. So I recorded everything else, and then just as I was about to start taking screenshots, I realised that I'd not recorded the living room, so there were notes to take a screenshot of. So I had to go back in and like actually record it in the first place. But yeah, we got there in the end, so it's a little bit awkward having the interior, like a little bit of footage of the interior on the end of the video. Normally I like to do exterior front, interior, and then exterior back, but it don't really matter. It is what it is. I don't think it affects the video too much. But yeah, I'm just doing the kids' bedroom now, and I really liked that bedding that we got with the Dream Home Decorator of one of the beds that we got with it. So I decided to kind of model the bedroom around that. So I went with the wallpaper that kind of matches the light blue that's on the bedding, which I quite like that idea. Although when I'm looking at it, it kind of reminds me of melons for some reason, you know, like a honeydew melon. Not really sure why. It doesn't even really look like a melon, but when I were decorating it, I thought, oh god, I think I've gone wrong with this. But yeah, I really like this room. It's quite a small bedroom, but I think I decorated it where it like makes sense. So you've got your wardrobe where your Sims can get changed. They've got like some decorative stuff. They've also got a TV in the bedroom, which they can watch whilst also laying on the bed. So I think that's a pretty like cool thing. I remember when that like didn't used to work. Was there like a bug where Sims couldn't watch TV while laying on a bed? They used to like stand up. But I don't know if that were like a bug or if my game just weren't doing it or what, but I'm glad that Sims can actually do that. It feels a lot more realistic. But yeah, like I said, I really like how this bedroom turned out. I like the colour scheme of it. It's a bit more sort of warm than the rest of the house. It's got more like colour to it, and the tone of wood that I used, obviously I used the orange one. It looks very different to the rest of the house, but I think it makes sense. I think kids' rooms, I tend to like go a bit more colourful for them and add a bit more sort of colour, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. Which to me makes sense. I think kids' rooms typically, like, they suit being a bit more colourful and having a bit more personality to them. And then for the kitchen, I decided to use these counters from Dream Home Decorator. I were going to use the ones from Snowy Escape in the, I think it's like a white swatch. When I was planning the build, I initially started with them, but I just don't like using those for like bigger builds. I mean, it's not really a big build, but it's quite a big kitchen. But I only like using the ones from Snowy Escape when it's a small kitchen, just because the counters are like really open. I mentioned this before, but I wish we got more swatches where the shelves are like closed up, you know, with like a sliding door or something. I think that would have been like a nice addition, but you can't really moan about it, can you? I do like the counters, and I like that there's something different that we've not really got in the game. But I just don't like using them too much because the open shelves look a bit odd when you've just got loads of counters with shelves with nothing on them. But then they also look a bit too much if you overfill them, in my opinion. So yeah, I initially started with them, but ended up settling on the ones from Dream Home Decorator. And I was going to have the dining room be the room at the back, but it wasn't really like working. Like, I didn't like the layout of it. It looked a bit too cramped. And I did still want to have like a greenhouse type thing or an area where the Sims could grow plants. I was going to have like a shed at the bottom of the garden, but I decided I'll just put the dining table, in the kitchen, and then I'll have like the back of the house be the greenhouse thing. I don't really know if it counts as a greenhouse. It's more of like it's like an extension conservatory type thing, but it is going to be a greenhouse because that's where I've put all the plants and everything for your Sims to grow. It's quite like basic, like the greenhouse. It's just got a few spaces to plant. It's not like overly filled with potential spaces to like plant your Sims plants and everything, but I wanted it to be a bit on like the simple side. I didn't want to like overdo it because it is quite a narrow room, so I did want to make sure that it was functional and everything, which it should be, but I didn't play test the plant pots and stuff, so they might need maneuvering a little bit. Sometimes the plant pots can be a bit awkward because if where the grid is around them, like the green like square, sometimes if they overlap with each other, they won't be classed as functional, but sometimes they are. It's really awkward, but they should be functional, and if not, then you might just need to maneuver them a little bit, space them out a little bit more. But the house itself is functional as it is, even though in parts it does look a little bit cramped. In the living room it looks a little bit cramped. When we get to that bit you'll see, but it is all functional. I've just finished playtesting it and I ended up playing a little bit longer than I needed to. I've not done a lot of like Sims 4 gameplay for a while, since I recorded my werewolves LP. Like I've not actually played with any gameplay and I am kind of missing it. I were going to be streaming the Not So Berry challenge, but if you've seen the community post, you'll have seen that I actually cancelled that. I'm not sure when I'm going to return to it. I mean, it's not cancelled, it's just paused. But yeah, while I'm waiting for my antidepressants to kick in, I'm just sort of putting a pause on that and just waiting to see that I'm like ready. Because I feel like when I'm recording a voiceover, I don't have to really think about my facial expression. I don't really have to think about, well, I guess I have to think about my tone of voice, but I don't really have to like put a lot of effort in it to keep it how it sounds, you know what I mean? Whereas doing a live stream for like 3 hours, it's a lot more effort, it's a lot more like energy for me, which I couldn't really explain in the community post. I feel like it makes sense to talk about it a bit more, but I don't want to make a big deal out of it, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things, and I think most people understand. I think most people that have ever struggled with like mental health stuff will get it, but I don't know, I don't know. It's a really like toxic thing to have, to not want to talk about your mental health. Like I can recognise that, but it's just because I'm not really like used to it, and the only people that I'm used to talking about it to is like my partner, and like I know what he'll be like when I talk to him, but I don't know what my audience on YouTube is going to be like, do you know what I mean? And I would absolutely die if somebody commented something really mean about it, so I wouldn't really. I'd be able to take it on chin, I think, but I don't know, I just don't like complaining too much, and I don't like talking about stuff like that. I don't know, it just makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. I don't really know why, because if somebody talks to me about mental health stuff, I'm a really good listener, and I'm really good at, not to like toot my own horn and all that, but I'm good at paying attention to stuff like that and taking note when someone says that they're struggling with something, and knowing, you know, what questions to ask, what questions not to ask, and sort of being clear with that person. If they back off from interacting with me, don't worry about it, don't apologise for it. Like I think I'm good at understanding mental health struggles and stuff when it comes to other people, but when it's myself, I'm just like, get a grip, what have you got to be depressed over? Which is also not a good thought to have, and not a healthy one to have, because anybody can go through stuff like that where they struggle, even if you've got like a perfect life, which I don't have a perfect life, but I don't really have anything going on in it that's a reason to be depressed really. So I mean, I said this to my doctor when I called up, and I was like, yeah, so I feel a bit down, I'm not really sure why, and yeah, I think I need help. And my doctor was just like, yeah, sounds like you got depression, don't worry about it, I'll help you. And I started crying when he said I'll help, because he said, he like went, don't worry, I'll help you, okay? And I was just like crying my eyes out about it. But yeah, I did want to mention that the Not So Berry challenge, I'll get back to it eventually, but I don't want to put any promises on it. And the same goes for streaming. Like I am having a break from that at the moment, and I don't want to like make any promises that I later have to be like, oh, I can't do it. But if anybody has ever struggled with any form of like mental health issue, then you'll probably get that this is like a common thing to like back out of your commitments or back out of things that you agreed to do like before, but then you're like, oh, I can't do it. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I'll keep you updated as it happens, but I'm probably not going to make a big announcement about it. So if you see me going live randomly, then that's probably it. That's probably me sort of just cracking on with it. But yeah, anyway, I'll go back to the build quickly before the video ends. So this is me just doing the living room, like I said, and oh my god, my voice is running out already. But yeah, I went for very white and bright in here, and then I thought I'd break it apart a little bit with the green wallpaper, which I don't often use because it's got this like weird corner thing on it, but that doesn't show on the interior, so that's fine. I like the shade of it. I like this sort of green. But yeah, then after that we'll be at the screenshots. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy watching it. And also if you want to chat mental health stuff in the comments, I don't know, maybe that's not the best thing to invite people to do. No pressure, but if you relate, then feel free to say that you relate, because that also helps me as well, if you don't mind. Anyway, I'm going to go now. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.